There's a mistake that I see a lot of beginner web developers and especially Webflow developers do, where they don't know the difference between a regular link or a button or what they even do and why we use the different types of links. And I just want to go through the different types of links and buttons that you can have in Webflow and where to use each one of them. So I just created this project and I'm going to add a few links here. So we have the link block and the text link. So let's add a link block. Let's also add a text link. We will also add a button that Webflow gives us. And we will also add a form because we want this submit button. So the reason I add all of this in here is because I want to show you what Webflow will give you when you publish. And I want to also add an extra item here, which is the custom element. So we're going to add a custom element and we're going to change the tag to button. And it has some default styling from the HTML. I'm just going to add a button class here to reset everything. Or maybe let's just add some basic stuff. All right, and I will also copy this into the form block. All right, so it doesn't look very pretty. Maybe we'll add some text in here. And let's publish this and see what we have. We're now on the publish site. I'm gonna open my DevTools and we'll use the arrow over here to go over here and check what is going on. So this is the items grid, and maybe let's make this bigger. Unfortunately, Webflow adds a huge ID attribute to all these, but let's try to ignore that for now. I'm gonna make this actually bigger and zoom in, maybe one more. All right, so this A element over here, that is an anchor, and that is what a link is. A link has an href attribute which tells the browser where this anchor is supposed to go. In this case, it just says hashtag, and if you click it, it will just go to the same page here. But normally, if you click it on the page, it doesn't go anywhere because you use the hashtag to go to a specific section. So if I give an ID to this section, we can click this to go to that place. Now, if you check the text link, it's actually exactly the same. The only difference is that Webflow doesn't allow you to add anything inside the text link. It's just a link with text. So you might as well use the link block and add a text block inside so that you can add a different class to your text than the link itself. Now, if you check the button element that Webflow gives you, it is also just a link. So again, it's just A is a link. It's the same as everything. The only difference here is that Webflow gives it this class over here, W button, which just gives it this blue color and some padding and whatnot. So if you're using this to just open a dropdown or control a modal or a pop-up or something, this is not really the correct element to use because this is just a link that is disguised as a button. It doesn't really have any use in Webflow. I don't ever use it. You can just use a link and style it as a button if you just wanted to navigate to a different page. This is just completely unnecessary and you can't even place any items in it. So even though it says button, it's actually just a link. If you do want a button that just controls something else like a drop-down or a pop-up, then you use a custom element and you change the tag to button like we did at the beginning. And doing that, it is an actual button that whenever you tap onto it with a keyboard, you can press space or enter to trigger a click event. So you don't have to configure different things. And the browser and screen readers will know that this is a button that is supposed to invoke an action and it doesn't link anywhere. So keep that in mind if you're making that kind of elements. Now, let's look into the form buttons. So the form button that you see is actually an input of type submit, It has data await, please wait. It has the same W button that we saw earlier and the value of submit. This is correct, and that is one of the two options that you have for submitting a form. And it's a special element that Webflow gives you, and they allow you to add this waiting text so that when you submit, it changes the text to something else to give some feedback to the user that something is actually happening. And I think it also changes to the success state by default. So you can use that. The only problem we have with this is that you cannot really place an icon in it, and you cannot give a different class to the text inside of it. And that's not because of Webflow, that's just how the input element works. You cannot put anything inside the input. Another option for submitting a form is actually using a button. And that's why I also copied the custom element that we made and we added the button tag to it here, because adding a button into a form will by default submit this form. So if I click on this button, you will see it changes to please wait on the other button, and then we get the success form or the success state that I didn't change. So let me refresh it quick. So you saw that this button reacts to the state of the form, and even though I clicked a regular button or a custom button that I created, it still submitted and changed the state of the other one. And in here, the advantage of using a custom button is that it's just a custom element. You can place text in it, you can place an image in it, you can do whatever you want with it, you have more freedom. The only problem with this solution is that if we go to the page settings here, and let me refresh the forms tab, we'll go down here and we will see that it has a field 1 and it's empty. Now, if we go back to the form that we added here, it has no fields. It's just a submit button and the custom button that we added. For some reason, Webflow sees that button as a field and it starts adding this field plus number to your data, and you will just have empty cells in your data that say field 1 or field whatever number in all the data that comes back. So that's one reason to not encourage using this. Although if you don't mind, then it gives you much more flexibility in terms of design, but you don't get the please wait text. You don't get you get that extra weird field, and you have to style it yourself. That's it. I just wanted to explain the different links and buttons that are in Webflow. And if you have any more questions, make sure to leave them down below, and I hope you have a good day.